I am making a video that may get me crucified. A video exposing the ruling scientific establishment of all top universities in the US and even the NAS, which is the National Academy of Sciences in America. Jesus Christ offended the ruling religious establishment of his time by speaking the truth, and that got him crucified. I will do something that has historically proven again and again to be fatal, namely speaking the truth and exposing the lies of a ruling establishment. What if I told you that a non-scientific religion has hijacked almost all our top universities and has been indoctrinating students in a godless belief system, all being done openly under the cover of science? Yes, you heard me correctly. Organized religious indoctrination disguised as being scientific while containing many mythical and fantastic creatures. Do you know there are non-theistic religions such as Hinduism, Buddhism and Jainism that are without any God as cause of the universe? For a belief system to be considered a religion, it doesn't necessarily need to have any God. You could be an atheist but still join a non-theistic religion, as many atheists already have without even knowing. In this video, I present undeniable and verifiable evidence that our future generations are being religiously indoctrinated in a non-scientific religion while their professors are forced to keep silence to avoid career and character assassination. Basically, they have to play along if they want to keep their jobs and fame in almost all prestigious universities and membership in the National Academy of Sciences in America. Many who didn't play along were professionally ruined and removed until the biology department in all top universities are now uniformly controlled by followers of Darwinian belief system, a religion that is being fiercely defended by the governing establishment of all top universities as if being factual and scientific. Please make sure to see this video to the end, as I will share insider evidence from one of top 3 universities in the world, where you can see for yourself how fearful the professors are to speak out and present evidence against Darwinism. I will also provide scientifically verifiable proofs against Darwinian beliefs about the origin of species, scientific proof that Darwin could have not known and no proponent of Darwinism has been able to refute. If you believe that life has evolved from simple living organisms, or you are someone who is looking for scientific arguments to refute this false religion, please stay with me. I will also post several links in the comment section for you to learn more about this religious invasion of our universities by a scientific establishment. I have been a Christian apologist for the past 20 years. I love science, but don't follow scientists or religion blindly. Please visit my channel if you'd like to learn more about me and my work. So without any further ado, let's get right into it. I love true science, but don't think we should just believe our scientists as if they were infallible. History has proven that many scientists lie and present false evidence on their way to fame and money and supporting their own beliefs, just as many religious people do also. We cannot trust the scientific establishment to be always honest and truthful, especially not in our universities. All scientists in the field of biology who currently teach in the most respected universities in the world and disagree with the Darwinian evolutionary beliefs are forced under the threat of losing their jobs and having their careers and names destroyed to publicly endorse this scientifically unproven belief system as being factual. Some quit their jobs. Those who stay don't even dare to speak against Darwinism. Don't believe me? Just ask any of your university professors privately if what I'm saying is true. Of course, you must first convince them that you are not recording the conversation or wired with some sort of recording device, because they are really afraid to express their honest scientific convictions, and that is terrifying. Any biology professor who speaks against the Darwinian beliefs is not only risking to be fired but also professionally ruined. This is not a conspiracy theory, but has been common knowledge among university professors for decades. Exposing popular lies equals career suicide. I wouldn't be surprised if this video is taken down and my channel banned for just speaking verifiable truth. Many professors are forced to teach and preach Darwinism for at least the past 20 years, despite the lack of sufficient real evidence that life evolved from simple living organisms, while being fully aware of undeniable evidence against it. They know that Darwinism is already dead, while they continue to defend it. It is like the popular king is dead, but as long as the people believe he's alive, they will keep supporting the kingdom. Many members of National Academy of Sciences are supporting a long-dead theory. Our universities are no different than universities in North Korea and China, where scientists are carefully guarded and don't even dare say anything against the government or their political and scientific beliefs. They can only teach what is approved by the ruling establishment, or they end up being fired and professionally destroyed. It seems to me that the main keys to the success of Darwinism and growing its followers are that the vast majority of students follow scientists blindly and believe what they are told, just as most religious people do also. The other reason is that Darwinism seems to provide an alternative to creationism when it comes to explaining the origin of life. But the Darwinian evolution falls on its face before it even starts. Did life really evolve from simple living organisms to more complex ones? Or this Darwinian idea is nothing more than just another man-made religion? If you just ask the right question, Darwinism falls. Just ask any genetic or molecular biology professor. Has there ever been any simple living organisms on this planet? And the answer is no. Because modern discoveries in the field of genetic biology have proven that even the simplest appearing living organisms are extremely complex at their genetic information level. All simple appearing living organisms require highly complex genetic codes and information, which is the very fabric of their existence. This is something Darwin couldn't have even dreamed about. In his time, a simple living organism was nothing more than some jelly-like transparent blob that was somehow alive. But today we know that even a single living cell cannot exist without a massive amount of highly complex genetic digital information. Darwin would have immediately tossed his notes about the origin of species in the trash if he had known there is really no such a thing as a simple living organism, or has ever been in the history of this planet. Life started highly complex when Darwin's childish theory took its first evolutionary steps. Therefore, we must abandon this idea that life evolved from simple to complex. There never was any simple life on this planet to begin with. Let me say it again. Life began highly complex, and there has never been any simple living organisms. Please call your Darwinian friends and let them know they are following a false religious belief and not science. Any scientist, including Richard Dawkins, who claim life evolved from simple living organisms, has the burden of proof to tell us where did all the highly complex genetic information of the first living cells come from. Just consider the warnings and the education Darwin received from top scientists of his time, letting him know that the fossil records are totally contradicting his ideas. At the time when Darwin had just published his book, The Origin of Species, the world authority in fossil records was the Swiss-born paleontologist Louis Agassiz of Harvard University, who was the best trained scientist in this field. After reading Darwin's book, he sent a letter letting Darwin know that the fossil records are telling a totally different story than he is. that there is a sudden appearance of complex species in the lowest level of the fossil records that just pops into existence in large quantities without any evidence of any prior ancestry. This is known as the Cambrian explosion. From Darwin to our times, the fossil record at its oldest and lowest level remained basically unchanged. We know today that all life forms appearing in the oldest level of the fossil records are highly complex. We also know that the trilobites that are at the oldest level of the fossil records had highly complex camera eyes that could rotate 360 degrees with zoom capability. Many complex compound and camera eyes suddenly pop into existence in the oldest level of the fossil records without having any ancestors. Basically, there is no possibility of natural selection for any of these countless creatures. They had no prior ancestors to select anything from. The fossil records prove two things. One is that complex species that we have today did not evolve from simpler forms. And the other is that Darwin's wrong ideas slowed down scientific advancement of the past 160 years by sending many of our scientists down the wrong path. I am convinced that the vast majority of professors and scientists in our universities today don't believe there is any real evidence for Darwinism to even consider it scientific, because they know better. But yet, under the fear of losing their jobs and fame, they choose to betray their students and hide their true scientific convictions. They are being bullied into submission and getting paid to promote Darwinism as the basis for modern biology and the origin of life. When there is not enough scientific evidence, lies and bullying seem to just work fine. Darwinism has been facing the lack of real supporting evidence and actual proof to refute it. From its beginning, Darwinism owes its survival to being the fittest when it comes to holding on with lies, bullying, and outright fraud. History shows that evolutionary scientists have lied to the public many times, not out of ignorance, but deliberately. Here is an example where a highly respected biologist fabricated false evidence to support microevolution and was publicly exposed and admitted to have lied, but his fraudulent and outright fabricated lies are still in many school textbooks today and being used as evidence for microevolution. Through the end of 19th century and the first part of the 20th, no scientist defended the Darwinian theory more forcefully than the German scientist Ernst Haeckel. More people learn about the Darwinian evolutionary ideas through his large number of publications than through any other source, including Darwin's own writings. So he was the leading scientist in the world when it came to promoting Darwin's ideas. Haeckel was indicted for having intentionally misrepresented embryological development to prove microevolution. He had altered drawings of embryos of different species to look very similar, and even added gills to human embryo to prove totally different species had common ancestors, and that human evolved out of the water from a fish-like ancestor. Haeckel was convicted and publicly exposed in 1874. He confessed to his crime almost 150 years ago, but his drawings remain in original or redrawn forms in countless scientific textbooks until now. Even Darwin himself was fooled by Haeckel's fraudulent drawings, and he had said that embryology provided by far the strongest single class of facts in favor of his theory. Those so-called facts proved to be lies just 15 years later. So Haeckel even fooled Darwin with his embryos. The famous Haeckel's false embryos are still presented by scientists and many textbooks as proof for microevolution. Even though proven to be false evidence, Darwinists such as Richard Dawkins still use embryos' similarities as evidence for microevolution. Donald Portero's textbook published in 2013 actually features Haeckel's exact same drawings as evidence for macroevolution. In 2016, Marder and Windelspecht's textbook features a redrawn version of Haeckel's embryos as proof and evidence for macroevolution and for common ancestry of different classes of species. I can go on and on presenting scientific textbooks featuring outright evidence proven to be lies, but we need to stop and ask ourselves, if embryos were naturally similar enough, why would Haeckel and so many other scientists need to alter them? I think it is because they believe evolution must be true no matter the evidence. They do anything to defend their beliefs. Here's Dr. John Van Wey, a British scientist who holds a PhD from the University of Cambridge. He lectures and broadcasts on Darwin, evolution, and science around the world, presenting evidence he knows was proven to be false about 150 years ago. He is not using Haeckel's fraudulent drawings, but other ones digitally altered to look confusingly similar, so he can use them as evidence for Darwinian beliefs.
But the other evidence was equally powerful for Darwin's theory, such as embryology. The embryos of animals do not start out as little tiny adults that just get bigger and are born. Embryos go through a weird set of stages and shapes which all resemble each other despite them being completely different adult organisms. So in this diagram, a turtle, a chicken, a dog, and a human, their embryos all look remarkably similar at the same stage. Why? Because they are related by common ancestors.
Let's look at bullying evidence by scientific establishment from inside the second richest university on the planet, namely the Yale University. Take a listen to Dr. David Glentner, professor of computer science at Yale University, which ranks number 3 out of 443 universities in the US.
I have to make a distinction between the way I've been treated personally, which is in a very courteous and collegial way by my colleagues at Yale. They're nice guys and I like them. They're my friends. On the other hand, when I look at their intellectual behavior, what they publish, and much more important, what they tell their students, Darwinism has indeed passed beyond a scientific argument as far as they are concerned. You take your life in your hands to challenge it intellectually.
Yes.
They will destroy you if you challenge it. Now, I haven't been destroyed. I'm not a biologist, and I don't claim to be an authority on this topic. But a book review is not the same as a book. It's sort of a satellite around the book. Anyway, it remains the case that I have nothing personally to charge my colleagues with. But what I've seen in their behavior intellectually and at colleges across the West is nothing approaching free speech on this topic, is a bitter rejection, not just a sort of bitter, fundamental, angry, outraged, violent rejection, which comes nowhere near scientific or intellectual discussion. I've seen that happen again and again. I'm a Darwinism. Don't you say a word against it or I don't want to hear you, period.
Which proves that you're attacking their religion, in effect.
I am attacking their religion, and I don't blame them for being all head up. It is a big issue for them, unquestionably.
We should ask ourselves the big question. Why would the scientific establishment even have the need to fabricate evidence and silence its scientists by threatening or to destroy them if they present evidence against Darwinism and macroevolution? Why don't they let them freely speak out in the universities and then prove them wrong and let their students decide for themselves what to believe? I have a theory. Either the proponents of Darwinism don't have enough evidence to defend their beliefs, or the opposing scientists have enough evidence to prove them wrong. Why else would one group of scientists shut the opposing group of scientists up? Why? When the game is rigged around evolutionary beliefs inside our universities, we can't expect education but indoctrination. We can no longer trust any evidence provided by Darwinists. We can't even know if the professor believes in what he or she is publicly teaching. We can't even answer the following question: how many percent of scientists in our universities and the National Academy of Sciences in America really believe in Darwinian macroevolution? It could be just 5%. Who knows for sure? Considering the lack of reliable evidence, I wouldn't be surprised to find out that even Richard Dawkins, the world-famous biologist, doesn't really believe in Darwinism himself. He could be preaching it not out of personal conviction, but because it has made him a lot of money. Many false Christian preachers do the same. They do the same by preaching lies they don't even believe in, just to make themselves rich and famous. How about you? Are you sure that your convictions about the Darwinian macroevolution are really because you were provided sufficient scientific evidence? If you were convinced by the evidence, then how is it that so many other well-known scientists who considered the exact same data as you did came to the exact opposite conclusion as you did? I encourage you to re-examine your faith in the Darwinian macroevolution. Your worldview depends on it, and nothing affects your life, career, and relationships more than your worldview. If you have been bullied, fired, or discriminated against in any shape or form because you rejected Darwinism, please post your experience in the comment section below. Complex functional information contained within the DNA of simple appearing living organisms are a devastating blow to the Darwinian evolution, proving without any doubt that modern species did not evolve from simpler forms or kinds. This is something Darwin couldn't even imagine when he wrote his book, but biologists in all top universities are fully aware of it. They perfectly know that Darwinism is nothing more than another man-made religion, but make sure it stays in the textbooks and is preached as being a scientific fact, because it is the only alternative to creationism. Why would scientists publicly present evidence that they know to be false? Take a moment and think about that. Any unbiased mind who would consider the scientific evidence against Darwinism realizes that it is just another religion like Hinduism that contains many mythical beings. Are you wondering what are these millions of mythical creatures in Darwinism? If Darwin himself was alive today, he would give you an answer to that question. The mythical creatures of Darwinism are all the imaginary creatures of the transitional evolutionary steps. Creatures that never existed. I am speaking about creatures who had evolved to have blood but had no heart yet to pump it around, or creatures who had evolved to have a heart but still had not evolved to have blood yet. There is zero evidence that those creatures ever existed. Invented creatures by Darwinists, such as the Java man, the Nebraska man, the Piltdown man, or the Archaeoraptor and the Ancon sheep, or the world-famous Lucy, are just a few examples of these mythical beings. At least people who believe in angels and demons have the decency to admit they are religious. But Darwinists who have placed their faith in Lucy want us to believe they are scientific. Where did the universe come from? Re-examine your faith. Expose bullies and those who lie in the name of science. I am doing it because truth matters, even if you risk being cancelled. Please see the comments and detail section where I have posted some links to many fabricated evidences for Darwinism that have already been debunked. Also, if you found this video helpful, please support my channel by giving this video a like, subscribe, and comment below. You can make a huge difference in making my videos available to a larger audience. Thank you for watching, and God bless.